hi there. I was gonna do a Q&A video last week, and well, things got a little crazy. So let's start doing one now, shall we? So on my page on Death by Nerf Blaster, I put up a post, and I'll even pin it if you want. That says, okay, I'm about to do a Q&A video. What questions do you have? And the first one obviously was, what's your YouTube channel? Oh, okay, so let's get those questions rolling, shall we? First question I picked was, what made you start modding? Well, interesting story. In 2008, I had two nephews who had bought Nerf Recons and a Raider. Okay, this is back in the N-Strike days. And the first time I picked up a Recon, I was thoroughly disappointed at its performance. And I was like, dude, this is like, I know I can get this like across our house. Okay, at least across our house. This is like pathetic. So I took a Recon, and I took out the air restrictor, and I put in a nozzle instead of an air restrictor. And that, in essence, made it go twice as far with the same spring loading. The blaster did about 70 yards, about what you would say a Nerf Elite series would do. And it was, I just kept improving it and improving it and improving it over the years until finally I had moved on to the Retaliator. But I had worked on the 177 carbine, and that's what I called it. And then went to Retaliators, and of course making the Super Retaliator, the Super Veloce Retaliator, and most notably the R-Spec Retaliator, which really proved that a Retaliator has the potential for decent power. Today, my Recon Retaliator does about as much as a Prophecy kit can do, or a little more. It can do anywhere from 210 to 230 feet per second with a brass barrel. So, if you think about it, the pursuit never really stopped. But that's basically how I started. And then I had a Nerf war for my, I believe it was my trying to think here. I believe it was my 35th birthday, and I had a little Nerf war where I invited some friends and this and that, which leads me to the second question. What was the first official Nerf war you were ever invited to? Well, okay, I had informal wars with my relatives and my neighbors and my friends and this and that. But it wasn't until a man named Jason Milanez, who was originally Basic Nerf, invited me to a Nerf war in Riverside. So I went to the war in Riverside and pretty quickly got into their group and started playing. I'm in a lot of early Basic Nerf videos, as you can see, but most notably I joined another group that was associated with the groups around the area, being the Bay Area Nerf and Airsoft Alliance, Basic Nerf group, and of course the Norwalk Regional Nerf League. I liked their structure. I liked how they taught people how to play. They taught people how to play honorably. They were not a bunch of rich kids who had a bunch of money. They were more, they're almost like the Bad News Bears or the Mighty Ducks. And they were just a very solid, disciplined team. About 2 years later, it fell apart, and they didn't really do much wars. And I started playing much more higher velocity stuff as, you know, I got into pistols. Got out of that super stock mode and became more of an ultra stock modder, and started playing more in Schoon Wars. And in 2013, I went to my first Armageddon. And, excuse me, not 2013. In 2014, I went to my first Armageddon, and I started playing for Nick Leagues ever since late 2013. So the next question. What is it like being rushed by high power springers with a bird of prey? Well, I'll tell you, okay? One of the things about being a Nerf player is, of course, okay, if you get hit by a high-powered dart, you're going to have a mark there, maybe, if you're playing really high-velocity stuff like me. But the nice thing about playing Nerf is that, in general, the casualties are less than airsoft or paintball. And I basically have the attitude of, if I'm going to get hit, I'm going to get hit. It's going to happen. And I'm far better being fearless, standing my ground, reloading my blaster, and firing, rather than running for it, usually. There have been a couple times I've ran for it. But usually what I do is I will throw that single blaster down to the ground, and I'll grab either a backup blaster, like a Ret, or in this day and age, a Mauser fire, and I will return fire. But a lot of times, if I think that guy's running for me, and I got enough distance to reload and fire and give it a shot, I will just reload the bird of prey and fire it. I don't really feel that any fear or anything crazy. I remember one time when I was playing on a war in Orange County, I had my Brass Dual Strike Magnum, and I was under attack, and gosh, our team is losing the Dodgers. But anywho, sorry about that. But I had the whole team attacking me at one point, and I just kept firing. I knew I was going to get hit, but I just kept going. If you are not feared by a rush, players fear you more and respect you more, and that's what I try to do. So next question. The next question being, what made you start your YouTube channel? Well, that's interesting. I didn't really have any desire for a YouTube channel, any desire to really go into Nick, anything, until people started to doubt how far the R-Spec Retaliator could go. And it was a pretty amazing blaster. At the time, Hang from Explorer was using an 8 kilogram spring and putting it in a sealed breech, and was getting about 110 feet, as where I was able to get 110 feet with longer darts. And yes, it was slower, but the longer darts were staying more aloft. And later on, I went to a 14 kilogram setup, and the R-Spec was one of those projects, kind of like the 177. It was a lot of work, and I was basically the first one ever to really throw significant yells into a Retaliator, and I knew it was great. The problem is that I was not very well versed in video. I was not very well versed in camera work. I mean, kind of like now, I'm not the best, okay? People know who I am. People respect me. I've been in the Nick all this time. I mean, I've been here through good times and bad times. I've been here through times where people were either heckling me or praising me. Okay, I've seen a whole spectrum, okay? And even after all the drama I had, I still respected everybody who confronted me about this, and everybody who challenged me to be better, and everybody who, in a positive or negative light, taught me to be better. Because it all ended up good. I mean, I'll tell you, it all ended up good. And the Nick was a lot more crude than it is now. And when you have people such as airsofters and paintballers heckling and saying, "Oh, it's not a real sport." Yeah, bullshit, it's not a real sport. I think that Nerf modding is much more a sport than airsoft and paintball, because you can actually do more with it. So at the same time, I'm being heckled by people to show, hey, does this blaster go this far? Does this do this? Does this do that? I also believed in them. And I believed in these people that were doing mods. I believed in these people that were building homemades, and I liked what they were doing. So I don't just respect somebody because they like me. As a matter of fact, I may just very well respect somebody that hates me. If their principles are great, I will, okay? So my YouTube channel was basically made to benchmark. It wasn't really made for commentary. It wasn't really made for reviews. It never really has. I mean, I'll show somebody something every once in a while if I think there's something notable to put down. But for the most part, it was made to show range tests. It was made to show mods. It was made to show things that I do. I wanted to buy credibility because I didn't feel like I had to go to some East Coast war and show everybody everything or anything. But sooner or later, I did end up going to wars, and I did end up playing in them. And showing people that, hey, you know what? This stuff works. And that wasn't really until I had the Ultra Match Fire Strike, and I had figured that, okay, I'm a little too high speed for the Super Stock Wars anymore. I need to play with people more on my level of play and more of my level of velocity and more people that don't mind being hit by a high speed dart, which believe me, they had much higher speed blasters than mine. I mean, Ice Nine has a 4B, for example. Um, Bradley had a bitchin' aluminum tank 2K. I mean, here's a guy. If I'm like king of pistols, he's definitely king of the AT2K by far, and he has made some really good advancements in long shot technology and air blaster technology. He made the turrets, if you remember, for the 2K and the 3K. A lot of great stuff. And of course, as you know, the more brilliant people I'm around, the more good players like Ice Nine, the more down earth people like Baghead, the more really, really brilliant people like Brad. And I mean, that kid is brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Not just kind of, sort of, but he is brilliant, okay? Um, of course, I want to play. I want to hang around them. I want to play games with them, and I want to play Nerf with them. So, um, eventually, it just mainly led to that, and the channel had kind of a void where it needed. Okay, I no longer had this fucking dick measuring contest anymore, so I needed something else. And I did more for shows, I did more features, I did other stuff other than Nerf, and I also did just more modding. And that's when I really started to publish more modding, because I realized I need to put up more stuff. And I did. So next question. And the last question. What was the most frustrating Nerf mod I have ever had, and what was the most frustrating Nerf gun I have ever used? Okay, most frustrating Nerf mod was by far mag strikes. I had to fix some mag strikes once, and of course, if you have an S10 mag strike and you ever break that that gas check on there, you have to basically get another. Dang, we lost. Oh well. Dodgers lost. Astros world champions first time. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. But at any rate, you have to buy another mag strike. Now, this day and age, you can thrift. I have several thrifted mag strikes, and I've done that. But mag strikes is one of, if anyone's ever seen me really try to kick ass in a war, and I mean really try, they know that one of my favorite primaries is an AS-10 mag strike. More so than flywheel blasters, more so than a stampede, more so than anything. Even though you have to pump the blaster and fire it, and the rate of fire isn't good because of that, on attack, it's a blitzkrieg of darts. And it is simple air powered. And if you keep good care of it, you don't overpump it, it's a good blaster. Okay? What was my most frustrating blaster to use? Hailfire. Oh, I hate Hailfire so much. Combined with the fact that I don't like flywheels. I don't like that whining, hissing noise. And if anybody ever hears some of my old videos where I talk about my hearing being very ultra sensitive, one ear was tested to hear at minus 6 decibels, 27 kilohertz. The other ear at minus 14 decibels at 38,000 kilohertz. This means that I hear little tiny electronic noises, squeaks, things like that that most people don't hear. And in the normal hearing range, whines and things like that, they're electronic, are more amplitude. It's louder for me. If somebody plays a flywheel blaster, and I mean play, it will sound as loud as probably turning up music in my headphones. It's loud, okay? There have been times where I've been close enough to flywheel players that when I fire a loud blaster, let's say something like an Ultramatch Fire Strike. Those are loud because they're a small area and they have a lot of spring action. Those things go crack. I mean, you hear them go crack when they fire. When you hear a bird of prey at full throw, it just goes, when you get a good feel, it just goes crack. And you'll hear it across the park. I won't hear it. I'll hear the whine of the motor. That's about 15 feet away. It's that bad. So combined with that, and combined with the indexing feature of the Hailfire, I ran into a lot of trouble with it. Well, of course, you wouldn't have known because the time I actually used a hailfire in a war was for the last HVZ I did at Camarillo. And for the first part of the war, I was using a 818 magazine hailfire, and I was demolishing just every Zed I ran into, just completely littering them with darts. So, but I was just, the cam's not precise. Those mags are really heavy. I mean, if you throw like 812s in there or 810s, that's cool, but it's not smooth. It's also real heavy, really bulky. Everybody knows I don't really like heavy, bulky blasters. And even though I agree that a long shot is your best all-around blaster you can get, and it is, that the Singaporeans have it right. By the way, what do I think about the influx of people in Singapore having the long shots? I'm thinking they got it right, man. Ultra stock, long shot, people like CG, Alex Kong, people like Titan, people like Sun Jun, man, and people like me, we know what we're doing, okay? Even though for the most part, I am mostly pistols. Because I like the downsize. I like to do things small, and I like to shoot from far away, and I like things that shoot very stable. A long shot is your most all-around best blaster ever made. The first one was by far the best. The other blasters that you have limits. A red has limits. A strafe has limits. I can even say as far as a fire strike has limits. A starshot has limits. Okay, obviously no rate of fire there. And you got to heavily mod them. A Nerf Kenner crossbow has limits. A Night Finder has limits. But a long shot is one of the most versatile, powerful blasters that you can get. So, answered another question there. And until next time, I'm going to go and pout about the Dodgers losing. They just lost 5-1. Oh well, happens. And I'm gonna come up with a part 2 pretty soon. And I'll see you later. Don't you go changing.